Albert Einstein once said, "If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself." Sometimes technology makes us feel like 6-year-olds, especially when hackers try to use the internet to steal something from each of us. If you think you have nothing of value to a hacker, think again. You and everyone you know are exactly who hackers target every day. This is DIY Cyber Guy with David W. Schrofer. Every week, he will show you how cybersecurity can be as easy as locking up your house at night. Now, here is your host, David W. Schrofer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to DIY Cyber Guy. Now, every episode, we talk about new and interesting ways that the hackers go after your identity, your cryptocurrency, your money. In this episode, we're going to talk specifically about how hackers go after your credit and debit card information at the gas pump. But before we get started, remember, it's never been easier to watch DIY Cyber Guy. We have a new YouTube channel, which you can view off of our website, which is DIYCyberGuy.com, or you can download our free podcast, which is on iTunes, Google Play, Player.fm, Stitcher, Overcast, Listen Notes, and now we're also on Spotify, so it's never been easier to listen to us. And please, if you like what you see, click the subscribe button wherever you see our show and give us a thumbs up. So on with the show. Stealing your credit cards, stealing your debit cards at the pump. Every day, about 37 million people refuel their gas tank. And of those, about 29 million people a day use a credit card or debit card at the pump to do that. Now, skimming is typically referred to when a hacker puts some kind of device on the pump, and the purpose of that device is to steal your credit card or your debit card. Now, in the past, that's been an easy thing to see because the skimmer is actually on the outside of the pump, and it's a piece of plastic or something that doesn't look quite right that's been attached to the space where you put your credit card or your debit card into the machine. Now, in 2016, in Florida, as a good example, there were about 220 of these skimmers that were found. This year, in the first half of 2018, over 1,000 of these skimmers have already been found, and that's just the state of Florida. So if you use a credit card or a debit card to pay for gas at the pump, this is definitely an episode you need to pay close attention to. Now, with me today to talk about all this is Scott Schober. Scott is the president and CEO of Berkeley Varitronics Systems, a 45-year-old New Jersey-based company that is a leading provider of advanced world-class wireless test and security solutions. Scott is often seen on ABC News, Bloomberg TV, Al Jazeera America, CBS This Morning, CNN, Fox Business, and many more networks. Scott is also an advisor for BlockSafe Technologies. Welcome, Scott.
Great. Thanks for having me on here, David.
So what is your experience with this issue, and how can consumers protect themselves?
Well, I'm very familiar with traditional skimmers, and probably many of your viewers, listeners are too, where we want to be careful that if we go to a gas station or a point-of-sale terminal, we put our credit card in, that it's compromised. And what's happened is, in the past year or two, thieves have been getting savvy, and they realize they have to up their game, and it's very difficult to sometimes get inside of a gas pump and then go back and remove the skimmer, which has got the stolen contents of your credit card. So what they've done is they perfected wireless. They brought wireless into the picture, and what they've done is attached a Bluetooth module to a skimmer, and that is simply placed inside of the gas pump. So when we go to fuel up our car and the credit card goes into that gas pump, the charge goes through as it normally would, but then also a copy of that credit card data is put into a buffer on this skimmer. And what the cyber thief does is about once a day, they'll pull up within about a 50-foot proximity to the gas pump, and they'll download all of those hundreds of stolen credit cards from that one particular pump. The part that I thought was fascinating was, how in the world do they get this thing in there? You got to physically break into the system in a sense. Well, what I learned is that there's about 6 keys. It's a universal lock and key system for all the hundreds of thousands of gas pumps throughout the nation. And that's because the station owner has one, franchise owner, the tanker truck guy, whoever it is, everybody has to have a key to have access to that. The national weights and measurements guy has a key.
You're talking about a physical metal key like you'd carry
a metal key. Yeah. So that basically means you can go on eBay or you can go on the dark web and you can buy these 6 keys to the universal lock and key mechanism. Go to any pump in the nation, turn the key, open it up. You place this Bluetooth skimmer, which you can purchase again on the dark web for about $100 from China, typically where it comes from. You place it inside the rat's nest of wires. You plug it into the top where the credit card reader is. There's a convenient little connector there that powers it, plugs it in. You close the pump. It takes about 10 seconds to insert a Bluetooth skimmer by the average cyber thief.
What you're talking about is a scenario where there's nothing on the outside of the device. So in the past, where we had maybe a piece of plastic that looked a little bit suspicious on the outside of the machine, we're now talking about something that's actually plugged into the inside of the machine that is not at all visible to the person coming up to the pump with the credit card.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And that's the part that's so deceptive. For the past 10 plus years, as consumers, we've been educated when you pull up to a pump or an ATM machine or anything else where it takes your card,
right,
check the bezel, see if it's loose, see if there's anything suspicious, this and that. With a Bluetooth skimmer, it's inside the machine, so there's nothing on the outside that will really give it away. If anything, the one thing you want to be careful of is sometimes there's a sticker that's put on there that said this pump has been certified to make sure that it's putting out the right amount of fuel, it's accurate, that there's no skimmers in it, everything else. Unfortunately, the thieves caught on to that, and they now sell stickers that mimic exactly tamper-proof stickers that after they place the skimmer, they put their own sticker on it that say the pump is certified and safe to use. So it fools everybody.
So if the only thing on the outside of the pump is a safety sticker, and the safety sticker itself can also be spoofed, we're not left with much in terms of physically being able to just look at a pump and tell if there's anything wrong with it or anything that a hacker's done to it. This is kind of a new world for hackers and for skimmers. So if I can't look at the physical credit card reader, the credit card skimmer, to see if there's anything physically outside of the gas pump that looks unusual, I can't look at the safety sticker because that too may be compromised. What the heck can I do as a credit card user at the pump to try to protect myself?
Well, I always look at this, it's a numbers game. What you want to do is whatever you can to minimize the risk of being compromised. A couple statistics that have been identified in a station, a gas station, traditionally what the cyber thieves will do is find the pump the furthest from where the attendant sits, which is usually outside of the station. So you want to use common sense then and go where an attendant may be closer there if that is the case. They traditionally target along highways where somebody's from out of state and they'll pull in and they'll want to compromise cards there, so they're targeted often. If it's dimly lit, if there's no security cameras, basic security practices come into play. But as you mentioned, there's really nothing visually that the consumer can do other than what I often do, pay cash. Cash is king here. It's a lot safer. It's not convenient, but you got to balance that convenience with that of security. And that's always a fine line, juggling those two things.
Okay.
But if the station is not one that you normally frequent, in other words, if you go every 2 weeks to fill up with gas and you know the attendant, you know the station, you're comfortable there, you're probably pretty safe. But when you're traveling, that's where you got to really be careful and keep your eyes open to look for anything that might look suspicious.
Now, some gas stations are already accepting wireless payments or payments through your phone, like Apple Pay, Android Pay, and in some cases, like Cumberland Farms has a QR code that you can scan. Are those practices at the pump better or worse given this new hack that you've been talking about today?
Absolutely better, much more secure, much safer. Any type of digital payment, be it Google Pay or Apple Pay, again, it's using near-field communication where you bring your mobile device in very close proximity of the card reader, and it's not sending actual credit card information over, which is a point I really like. it's really sending a tokenized communication. The bank is...
Well, that's a critical point. So in that scenario, the station owner, the franchise owner actually never sees the credit card number. They're seeing a token of your credit card, which is useless to a hacker, right?
Yeah. What's a hacker going to do with that? There's nothing they can do with that. One-time token, and it's encrypted end-to-end, the communication. So it's extremely secure. Possible to hack? Sure. Are hackers going to go after that? No, they're going to go for the low-hung fruit. Right. Now, an important point to mention also, David, is probably people watching this are saying, well, I don't get it. We went to EMV, chip and pin technology, a number of years ago after the breach at Target and Home Depot and all these other stores. So the retailers all upgraded to security for chip and pin, which isn't fully implemented yet. It's really chip and signature that we're dealing with here.
Right.
More secure, but not as secure as chip and pin, where you enter a physical pin. Right. It's starting to take effect in certain stores. Well, there was a liability shift that happened, I believe it was last year, and it's going to push it out to 2020 before the petroleum industry, the gas stations, have to upgrade the credit card security to chip and pin, EMV technology, where there's that little microprocessor embedded into your credit card, which will make it safer. Hasn't happened. It got shifted till 2020, so the cyber thieves moved away from retail, and they're focusing their efforts on the gas pumps to steal our credit cards. That's why we've got to be careful. It's traditional mag stripe still at the gas pump.
So like most other things, you can almost follow the money to understand the nature of a problem. So if I'm a station owner, if I own one or 51, and I know that within the next 2 years I've got to spend whatever it costs to upgrade all of my pay at the pump devices from magnetic stripe to EMV, I'm not going to do anything to solve the current problem. I'm going to just wait until I have to spend that money to upgrade. So that sounds to me like why the problem isn't being fixed. And the hackers, as they always do, are looking for the soft spot in the market, and that's gas pumps.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so therefore, the gas station owners, the franchisee owners, they're not held liable for any compromised credit cards that happen at the pump. The other thing that's interesting also is, in a traditional breach, Home Depot or Target or something like that, when they're breached at the point of sale on their computer network system, they're required by federal law to give breach notifications. And we may have gotten a statement in the mail that your card may have been compromised. We've issued a new card for safety, blah, blah, blah. It's different at a gas pump, because what happens is that's not tied into their internal computer network. So the law does not require them, if your credit card is compromised by a cyber thief, by a Bluetooth skimmer at the pump, they're not required to notify you that you've been breached. They stay clear of it. The liability is not in their court. And part of the problem, I think, that this is kind of being allowed, and they kind of turn their head, because what's happening, they're still making revenue. Every time that gas is pumping through, they're making revenue. And that's a big, big part of the problem. It's also now elevated to an elaborate scheme. I'll share just a brief one with you. In many cases, and this was noted down in Florida, where, again, the problem is currently the largest, what's happening is a cyber thief will pull up, they'll steal the credit cards for the day via Bluetooth, get a couple hundred of them, they'll go home, they'll burn a physical card, they'll come back later with that physical card, that's your stolen credit card or mine, put it into the gas pump, they'll pump into their truck, they got a cab on the back, and they'll have maybe about a 600-gallon bladder, big giant bladder that fills up with gasoline.
Physically stealing gasoline now is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now they're stealing 600 gallons of gasoline. It gets even better. They go around the corner and they meet the tanker truck. Now they pump that $600 of stolen gasoline on our credit card into the tanker truck. That tanker truck drives back to that same station
and pumps it back in.
It's crazy. It's a crazy loop.
I'm laughing because you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's as absurd as it sounds. And as an individual user, what I would see on my credit card is a number of charges, $30, $40 at a gas station, and then one,
whopper,
$1,000 or whatever the maximum might be at that particular station. That's so interesting. And back to the liability issue. So if I don't want to name a brand name of a gas station, but let's say a major national gas company learns definitively that they had a pump or a number of pumps that were compromised over a period of time. We would expect them to shut it down, but there's no requirement for them to inform anybody, whether they're a loyalty customer or not.
Yeah, now technically, if they find out that there is a skimmer placed in their pump, be it an old traditional skimmer or Bluetooth skimmer, they're required to contact the local authorities. It does become a federal crime, and federal investigators will come in, and oftentimes they'll shut the pump down. Media hears of it, and then they talk about station on the corner of I-95 and whatever.
Right.
Skimmers, now suddenly customers start going. So what do station owners do? If they do open the pump and find a Bluetooth skimmer, oftentimes they'll just remove it and throw it in a box or discard of it and not report it. And that's dangerous because there's credit cards on there, there's people that are compromised, and the thieves just go on and just keep growing in their elaborate scheme. So it's a bad thing. So more and more, we're now trying to scan the pumps, and that's where we kind of came into this problem, learning about it, and we developed a tool, a wireless tool that allows station owners, Secret Service, national weights and measurements groups, where they can actually quickly scan outside the pump without even opening it to see if there's a transmitted signal, and we can communicate with that and hone in on which pump has the skimmer there, so they can just shut down that pump and still do business as normal and not make too big a deal of it, so federal authorities can come remove it and hopefully set up a sting operation and catch the culprits.
So listeners of this podcast are typically small office, home office users, and I think plenty of my listeners are probably gas station owners. Maybe they own 1 or 2 or 5. So tell me about this device. If I'm a gas station owner, I very much don't want to be on the 6 o'clock news with camera crews showing up saying, this station was compromised, because that's what they would say. Even if it was one pump for 1 minute, it would still make the news. So how do I get one of these devices as a small gas station owner?
Great question. And we have been selling direct to small franchisees and some stations that they own one station, and maybe they have 10 or 20 pumps. And what they want to do is buy this device. It's called a Blue Sleuth. We sell it for $995 on our online store, or you can go on Amazon and just type in Bluetooth locator, and it'll pop up. And it allows you to simply use this device again and hone in each day. Usually what they do in the morning, they may scan each pump to make sure no cyber thieves showed up in the middle of the wee hours of the night and slipped in one of these Bluetooth skimmers on them, unbeknownst to them.
So for $900, they can basically have a daily routine, or multiple times a day, and just scan every pump, or go around to their different pumps and just scan them.
Yeah, exactly. And then also National Weights and Measurements Group, and they're typically in the state of New Jersey, for example. I think there's 145 agents. They're going around to all the different gas stations, as well as the other weights and measurements things that they have to measure each and every day. It takes them a little more than a year to get to every gas station in a state of New Jersey. So it tells you how difficult it is to scan a pump every single day. It's just not happening. But if the individual station owners do it, it's going to be a lot safer, and they can get these skimmers out of there quicker.
Okay, so from a cost-benefit analysis, if you will, and I'm thinking about spending $900, and I own, let's say I was a station owner of 3 gas stations. Does the device expire, or does there have to be a monthly subscription fee to the device, or is this a one-time payment?
Yeah, it's just a one-time purchase. You spend under $1,000, you own it. It's a complete kit in a little case. And what we do provide, and that's included in the price, is we give regular updates. As we find, we call them devices in the wild, Bluetooth skimmers in the wild, they have some unique IDs to them. And we actually have a database in the unit that allows for a rapid detection of a particular device. So if we know a particular ID has been found in 100 gas stations throughout Texas, it'll actually pop up on the screen, and it flashes in red, highly suspectable that there's a Bluetooth skimmer in the proximity. It's usually within about a 50-foot radius. You can then tap on that suspect, and what it does is it now takes you to another screen, which is a direction-finding screen, and we're discriminating all the other Bluetooth activity, regular Bluetooth or Bluetooth low energy. So you're not going to see your phone or your smartwatch or anything else. You're only going to see that target, and that allows you to quickly hone in and scan and find that target pump that has the Bluetooth skimmer in it. So it saves time, hopefully saves money. Another interesting statistic, it's a little more than $100,000 is estimated to be taken in stolen credit cards for a single Bluetooth skimmer. So again, as you mentioned there, over 1,000 skimmers have been reported in Florida alone. If you do the math, that is a huge amount of money. Billions of dollars are estimated to be taken in by cyber gangs and cyber thieves and stolen credit cards just at the pumps alone. So a huge problem growing.
So while, for our listeners, neither Scott nor I are advocating hacking as a living, but to follow that path, I go online, I spend $10, I get a metallic key, which is one of 6 different kinds of keys that are used by the oil and gas industry to service these pumps. I find a pump that hopefully doesn't have a sticker, so I don't have to forge that. So far I'm out of pocket. $10. I take a Bluetooth skimmer or this Bluetooth transmitter, which is on the order of $100, right? I plug it inside of a unsuspecting device, and I'm risking criminal liability at that point. But I can make $100,000. That hacker can make $100,000 off of that one hack. So a lot of questions of why does this happen are answered by because there's money in it. It sounds like there's money in this, which means, if, again, for my listeners that are oil and gas station owners, it's really something that they have to look out for. And if they don't use a product like yours, they should use something to make sure that they have a system that is ensuring every day that a hacker doesn't come in and do that process to their gas pumps. Yeah, absolutely fantastic advice.
Yeah, and there is some misinformation, just so some of the viewers understand also. Many have reported that, all you got to do is take your mobile phone out and you do a Bluetooth scan or get a Bluetooth app and scan, and you can see a whole bunch of numbers and IDs that pop up. It is not a good way to try to find a skimmer. Number one, you can't direction find with a phone. You have no idea where it's coming from, right. Number one. And anywhere you scan it, I do it all the time on my phone, I see multiple Bluetooth devices that will pop up. I can't discern what that is. You can actually create an alias for it, and a lot of the bad guys can do that. So there's a lot of ways the bad guys are doing things to fool people that are foolish enough to believe that their mobile phone will make sure it's safe to pay at the pump. And it really is down on that.
Absolutely fantastic information, or terrible information, depending on whether or not you're a gas station owner. But it's a good tip. I mean, so you can't phone in detection. You really have to take it seriously, because you're right. Any Bluetooth, any smartphone is going to see any number of Bluetooth connections wherever you are, given what you're in the proximity of, and you won't be able to tell what's affecting the pumps and what's not. Okay, so some great tips for people that use credit and debit cards at the pump. Use wireless if you can. Use Apple Pay if you can, or even the QR code. I'm not a huge advocate of the QR codes because there's some issues there too. But it sounds like if you're not sure about the pump you're paying at, it might be a good solution. Hopefully, all these problems go away in 2 years when the liability shifts back to that gas station owner. Then they'll certainly take it seriously when they have to pay that fraudulent $1,000 that was put in a credit card is their fault, not the bank's fault anymore. So hopefully this is just a 2-year problem and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Scott, this has been a great interview. Thanks for all the information. Where can people find out more about you and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. They could certainly find out if they want to have blogs or some white papers, information in the world of cybersecurity. Simply my name, scottschober.com. They can also go to my website where we have wireless security tools, and that's B as in Bravo, V as in Victor, and then systems, spelled out plural.com. And tons of information. And feel free to click on the link, ask any questions. We're happy to help wherever we can.
Fantastic. And for my listeners, I'll have all of those links in our show notes. So just go to DIYCyberGuide.com and look for the episode with Scott Schober, and you will find everything here. Scott, thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having, and please stay safe, everyone.
Okay, that's all the time we have this week. Please click the like button below if you like what Scott had to say, and tune into all of our different episodes on our new YouTube channel or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Stay safe out there, everyone.
Thank you for listening to DIY Cyber Guy. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this broadcast are for general information only, and we have not knowingly divulged any information that would conflict with any of our non-disclosure or confidentiality agreements. Enjoy the internet safely.